So last week we start the seventh lesson, not seventh lesson. I'm sorry, people. It's the A-level seventh lesson is the system lesson. So it is the second lesson of your book. So again, it's a system. So we talk about what is a system and what are the components of the system. And we classify the system into two categories, which is the manual and the computer-based systems, right? So I think it is the last point that we written as like information system can be classified as manual information system and computer-based information system. Is that the last line we wrote? Can anyone confirm that? Yes, anyone? Can you confirm what is the last point that we written? Right, great, Tulagi. All right, so today we are going to go from that particular point onwards. I think we talk about the manual information system. So like manual information system, if I recap it to you, so it is something we like where a system we do all the processes manually, right? So that is what we call manual information system. So like it will be involved physical files, books, and all these things to store the data. So people will involve to record things on the like manually, like using an application or using an exercise book or a logbook or a particular file kind of thing, right? So likewise, it like the computer is not a part of it when it comes to the manual information systems. And when it comes to the computer-based information system, it goes the other way around, computer acting a major role inside that system. So computer is considered, or like the software or the system inside the computer is named as the system. All other components, like starting from the computer operator, and if there is anyone who is involved in with that computer remotely, all these things like will be considered as the person or like the people who are involving with that system. So in that particular system, processes will happen inside the computer system. Yeah, okay. Sanduni says my voice is not clear. Is it same for others?
Yes.
It's not clear, right? Okay. Like not clear means like mawa himihita ඇහෙනවා වගේද? No. Right, okay. No, others says it's clear. Right, okay. Sanduni Dua, maybe it's a problem at your side Dua. If you could disconnect and reconnect Dua පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න. Others are saying it's okay. Right. So then the computer-based system, computer-based information systems. So as I told you, the computer is a major role or the major system that we are involving with. And all other components or all other people or the users involving with the system will be input the data and take in the information as the output from that particular system, or in other words, from the computer. So the processors will be there inside the computer, done by using the inputs that the users are giving, right? So majorly, that is the difference that we have to remember. Manual system is purely processes are purely done by manually, and computer-based information systems, computer is the component which process the provide the processes regarding the system. I'm sorry. Right. So as an example, they take a computer-based library system. So there are like some things that the computer-based library system can do. Right. So availability to detect whether the particular book is available in the library, and if available, the location of the book. So it should be a highly technological thing if it's going to be like that. So if the computer-based system is like directly, it can identify what is the shelf and where the book is, right? ගොඩක් වෙලාවට සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ like when the computer system is there, we are doing some things, some processes manually. So it's semi-automated actually, right? Not totally computer-based information system, but most of the task will be done with the help of the computer, right? So if it is a computer-based library information system, as it says, so we will be able to like search for the books with for the availability, and we can vacant a one, or we can borrow a one just by sending a request. Ebooks will be available, right? And as this says, ability to use barcode to maintain issues and receipts, right? So it's like to identify which book is being borrowed and which are going to be returned, right? So likewise, it goes the same way, right? Yes, Sarah, information system is a type of a system. Yes, and definitely, right? So when we are talking about the computer related systems, right? We are talking about computer-based information system. Other type of system, like apart from information systems, Seran, there are many other systems, like there are systems which is helping to do the management. We call them the management supportive systems. Like there are different kinds of supportive systems. And there are geographical information system. It's again kind of an information system, right? And there are like knowledge management systems, right? There are many things. Even like if you take the your smartphone, the vehicles, the modern vehicles, and all these things, they are addressed as the embedded systems, right? So there are many, right? But here we specifically talking about an information system, because we are talking it on a basis on the information and communication technology, right? So the major component that we talk in here is the information, right? And how it is being managed and manipulated by a system, right? So it can have that kind of things, right? So where the users will be able to receive the facility or receive the informations, and as well as they have the ability to provide the informations into a computer system, right? So so since we have written, there are two types of information systems at this point, right? uh, under the same topic, it's better you say as the next line, like this: manual system is a system, all processes are done manually. Just copy that thing, right? That's the next point of the previous topic. So say it like the very last topic. So what you have to say: manual system is a type of a system. Manual system is a type of a system. Heading eකට is කියලා දාලා ලියාගත්තා නම් හරි. Manual system is a type of a system. All processes are done manually. It's better you say where word neither. Manual system is a type of a system where all processes are done manually. Manual system is a type of a system where all processes are done manually. Right? So as an example, you may write this example under the same topic, under the same point. Okay, done. And moving forward, yeah, it's better you write this particular input process output scenario to illustrate what happens inside a manual system. Let me know when you are done. Okay, one is done. How about others? Right. Two are done. How about the rest? Right. Okay, Seran. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, Seran. Right. Right. All right. So, is there anyone still right in this? If so, just indicate me. Otherwise, I can move forward. And do we got a newcomer in the room? Sanduni, are you still writing the? Right. Okay. So let's move forward. Right. Okay. Now, the next thing is about the computer-based information systems. And as the next point of your note, write it like this. Computer-based information system is a system which converts data into information using a computer. Computer-based information system is a system which converts data into information using a computer. And we are not going to list the benefits of a computer-based library system. So it's just, since it is just one particular scenario, right? So what we should remember is it is going to be a computer which has the ability to convert data into information and which act as a system, right? So it is what we call computer-based information system. So the system is inside the computer. Okay, so moving forward, next what we have to do is to compare these things. So I'm giving you this as a homework, right? Please note it, highlight it in your textbook. Mark, right? You have to write this comparison into your books, right? So it compares how the computer-based information and the manual system can be compared, right? Yeah. People, just a second. Just a second. I need to answer this call. Hari, Sanduni, no, I was muting the mic to answer a call. I had to answer that call. That's why I was muting the. Right. So this is your homework, right? You have to write it on your book, right? Please mark it, right? So I'm proceeding to the system development process, or in other words, system development life cycle, right? So now onwards, we are going to talk about how we are going to make a particular computer system. Now, making in the sense, here we are just talking about the steps that we are following. We are not going to develop a system here. We are just talking about the process from top to bottom. Actually, like from the 0 point to the 100 point of the system. System එක ඉපදෙන තැන ඉඳලා හදන්න plan කරන තැන ඉඳලා system එක හදලා ඉවර වෙන තැනට වෙනකම් මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ කියන එක අපි කතා කරන්නේ under the system development life cycle, right? So under this, we are talking about 6 different steps, which is identification of requirements, designing the solutions, coding the solution, testing and debugging, deployment and maintenance, right? So it is the general way where a system can develop, right? Later, at the end of this lesson, like the latter part, you will be given some models of like having this system development life cycle, right? එක හරියට අපි මෙතන අපි කතා කරන්නේ like අපි car එකක් හදනවා නම් generally how to build a car, right? Later you will be given some models saying the different ways of building the car models, right? So it's the same car, but there are different ways of approaching it, right? So those are called the system development lifecycle models, right? First we talk about the SDLC, system development life cycle. Then we are going to go behind the models, right? So the very first step when you are asked to create a system is to get to know about the requirements of that particular system. Now, in the real world, systems are not like නිකන් අපි හිතලා programmers ලා නිකන් හිතලා systems හදන්නේ නැහැ, right? Either they will do some research regarding the requirements of the computer world, then they will go for something like that, or else a particular client will come and like present a problem, or like saying what he need, and then a project team will involve in developing a system for that particular client's requirement, right? So anyway, the project team should receive a particular requirement to identify what that requirement is, right? So as an example, your principal in the school will ask from a software company or from a project team to develop a student information system for the school, right? So that is the requirement of the principal. And principal, in most of the cases, does not have any idea about the technical part of how this process is going to be, right? What he needs or she needs is an information system about the students and the like about the school, right? So he or she will like find the project team or a software development company and will present the idea or the requirement that he has this need of creating a school information system, right? So when that requirement is presented to the project team, they will do some analyzing part to identify the real requirement or the particular requirements of this particular system, right, that the client is asking for. So to identify those requirements, they will carry out like the different kinds of methods of gathering the information, right? So those methods are given right over here. So the observation, interviews, questionnaires, document sample collections, prototyping, those things will be used. So what are these things? Now, observation mean the project team or like member or two or some team of the project, the entire project team will visit to the particular place where the requirement needs, and they will observe what really happens inside this organization. Now, as to our example, if they ask to create a school information system, team of the project team uh, will be visiting to the school and will observe. Seran, wait, I'll let you know. And we'll observe what are the processes that is actually going on. And by analyzing it, by observing it, they will recognize what should be included in the system or like in the computer system, right? Seran, it's like this. This system development life cycle is common for every computer system or like every computer system. මොන ජාතිය computer system එකක් හදන්න ගියත් this particular steps you should carry out, right? You should get to know about the system, then you should design the system, then you should develop the system, then you should test the system, then you should implement the system, then you should maintain the system, right? It is common for anything, any system, any information system. Unlikely like information ma කියලා අපිට වෙන් කරන්නත් බෑ. If we are building any kind of a system, these are the steps that we have to carry out. Otherwise, we will miss some components, very important components, right? So whenever you have a need of a system, these steps should be carried out to achieve that particular system in a correct way, in a correct manner, right? Yeah. So like it will depend on developing a computer. It will related to developing an operating system. It will related to the developing an ATM system. It will related to developing like let's say a transportation system, make a computerized, so those kind of system, right? So it is common, right? Regardless of the system, these steps we have to carry out. Right. So the one way of identifying the requirement is by the observation, right? So they can visit to the school and observe what are the things, what are the processes that are happening. So they will see, okay, starting from like 6:30 onwards or like 6 a.m. onwards, the teachers and students are arriving at the school. So they will, the teachers will sign their attendance, the attending time, and they will report to the classes, and classes will be arranged by the students and the clerical staff, the help of those things, right? Then the school bell will ring at 7:30, so the starting happens. Then the bell is ringing for every 40 minutes inside the school. So like at 10:30, the interval will be given, 10:50 it will be over. So likewise, they will see, they will observe what will happen. And through those observations, they will get an idea what are the things to be taken into the system and what are not, right? මොකද අපිට organization එකක තියෙන ඔක්කොම ටික අපිට information system එකකට absorb කරන්න බෑ නේද? දැන් අපි like attend like ස්කෝලේ 6ට අරිනවා කියන එක we can't fix into a system, right? In the practical world, right? Then අපි ඔක science fiction එක වගේ ගත්තොත් නේද? හරියටම 6ට gate ඇරෙන එකක් system එකෙන්ම maintain වෙනවා කියලා කතා බහ කරන්න පුළුවන්. So it is going to be a very complex one, but in real world still there are some limitations where we can go with the system, right? So they will observe. That is one way of gathering the requirement, right? The identifying the requirement. And another way of identifying thing is the interviews, right? So they will go and interview particular people. So if it comes to the school information system, they will interview the main entities that are going to be in the school system. Like main entities means starting from the security officer, the children, the teachers, the principals, and the assistant principals, right? Sectional heads, even the clerical staff. They will interview and they will gather what is requirement, like what are the requirements that they need and what they are expecting from this kind of a system, and how the present situation is carried out by these particular people. So they will recognize, okay, now as an example, when a student is admitted to this school, uh, he or she will be sent to the non-academic staff member will be taken care of the admission. So in that point, they will record her name, uh, her index number, and the birth certificate details, and all these things, right? So the project team will have an idea, okay, this particular scenario can be embedded into a computerized system. So we can make an interface, and it can be arranged like without, instead of writing the details on a book, we can create an interface, and we can ask for that particular non-academic staff member to input the details into the system hereafter, right? So to have that idea, they should have this interview, right? And remember, like all these methods are not compulsory, right? Api කියන්න බෑ, you must do an observation, you must do an interview. It's not like that. It is depend, and it is decided by the project team which kind of methods that they are going to carry out to gather the requirement, or like they understand the requirement, right? As well as they can give some questionnaires, right? Questionnaire is another way of gathering the information to identify what is the requirement is. So questionnaires can be made maybe by focusing the entire population, or maybe focusing the groups, the categories, right? So either they can make a common questionnaire for every people or every sample in the system, that is for like teachers, for students, for non-academic staff, for principals. They are given the like the same questionnaire, and they have to answer it, right? Or else they will make the separate questionnaire for the principals and assistant principals. They will make a separate questionnaires for teachers and separate questionnaires for students. Then they will gather the information according to that particular procedure, right? Again, it is according to the system that they are going to develop, right? And document and sample collections, like as a very good example is the manual book that they are recording your details in the schools, right? They got this big log book, like entering all the details of the student when a new admission is happening, right? So like if it is a requirement of a system, so the project team can ask for those kind of documents and see what are the details that they have reported, and what are the problems with those, and what are the new details that need to be taken, and what are the details that we can eliminate, right? So those things can be decided by the project team by referring to these particular documents and doing the sample collections, right? And prototyping. Now, prototyping is again, it is a kind of a way like getting the acceptance, or like getting the idea of what to be done, right? So like for some reason, for some cases, right, they can create a computerized model and show it to the client, right? Then if the principal asks how I'm going to like what kind of a interface, or how I'm going to enter the new details of a system into the system, right? So then like the project team can develop a prototype. Maybe it is going to be a manual prototype, like a sketch which is drawn on the paper, or maybe it is a computerized interface that they have created using some software, right? And can show to the principal, okay, this kind of a interface will be given to you, so you can input data according to these fields, and you can press this button to save it into the database, right? So that kind of prototyping can be given to the client to gather their requirement or to identify their requirement regarding the system. දැන් එහෙම දුන්නම principal ට හිතනවා නම් ඒක complex කියලා, so he can tell the changes නේද? So that means the project team is identify what are the requirements that need to be fulfilled, right? So that part is regarding the identification of the requirement base, which is the first phase of the system development lifecycle, right? Is it clear, people? Can I have the confirmation? Right.
Yes.
Okay. So let's write about this thing. So have the main heading saying phases of system development lifecycle, right? You better like leave some space to draw this table, and then this next title is going to be there: phase of system development lifecycle. And number one, it is a subtitle saying identification of requirements. Right, so under that, yeah, the very first line, it's better you copy that. The very first line. Yeah, and the second para. Let me know when you are done, people. Okay, one is done. How about others? Okay, so we can move forward. Like, yeah, let's simply explain this. Yeah, you better write this thing. There are several methods of gathering information, and under it, observation. Right? Yeah, we have to write about those things, people. So it will take some time, but please copy it down. And regarding the observation, this is all what you need to write plus example. Regarding interviews, you have to write the entire thing. Okay, one is done. All right. So regarding the questionnaires, yes, you have to write the entire thing, documents and prototyping. Yes, people. So like the from 3 to 5, yes, you have to copy the entire thing, people. Right. I know it's lots of writing, but we have to do it. We have no any other option, right? So please, I'll give you some of these things as the homework, but I can't give you all. Otherwise, you will feel it is very annoying when entire thing is given to read written in the home, right? So let's complete some of them in here, right? Saran, it's the Python, sorry, Pascal is one of the practical lessons. And then we have the multimedia lesson where we have to learn about the video editing, audio editing, graphic editing, uh, what else? Yeah, some animations as I remember, right? So it is a practical, totally practical lesson. And the HTML, the web designing. It is a practical lesson. So there are 3 practical lessons and 3 theory lessons. This is one of the theory. And later we are having internet and email. Actually, it's a half theory, half practical one. And the very last one, the computer and the society. Yes, Seren. You won't be find anything hard on the ICT. It is just general things that we need to understand. But when it comes to the Pascal, HTML, we need to know what are the syntaxes are. Other than that, it's okay. All right, one is done. How about others? Okay. Right, two are done. How about others? All right, so it seems everyone is done. Is there anyone still writing the note? Please indicate. Okay, so the first phase is like that. So when a client is given the requirement, the project team will do these kind of or like execute these kind of methods to identify the requirement fully, right? Because uh, the client is not having the technical knowledge as well as the like software kind of a knowledge and the system development knowledge to explain the system totally towards the project team, right? So they have to understand how we are going to do this. So for that, they are going to identify the requirement fully using these methods, right? Then they are going to design a solution for the requirements that they gathered, right? So they first they get to know what's the requirement is. Now they are going to design a solution. Now here it is designing, like the planning part, right? So in this planning part, these kind of things happen. So like when they are designing, now here in your syllabus, according to your syllabus, it says at this stage actual designing of the design of the proposed system take place. Some activities related to the design process are as follows. So uh, if we take the real world, when it comes to the designing, they actually design the present situation as well as the proposed situation, because present situation එක තියෙන විදිහ බලලා තමයි future development එහෙමත් නැත්නම් proposed development එක කරගන්න lazy වෙන්නේ, right? So anyway, in your as per your syllabus, they are just saying they are going to create the proposed system or like design the proposed system at this pace, and the things that they are identifying, some of the things, like identification of software and software architecture. So what kind of a software that they are going to use, right? And like if they are going like, definitely there will be coding. So if coding, what kind of a coding language or programming language that they are going to use. And definitely there will be a database development. So what kind of a software that they are going to use for that particular database. And there will be several other softwares as well according to the requirement, right? So they have to identify those softwares and the architecture of it, right? And the user interfaces, right? So user interfaces are the critical components when it comes to a system, because the end user is interacting with the user interface, right? Now when you are visiting to an ATM, it is the user interface that you are dealing with, right? So it should be something user friendly for a user to interact with the system, right? So they will design those things, like can be manually, or there are a designation called UI engineers, user interface engineers, or UI designers. So they will do this graphical interface thing, creating the graphical interface thing and present it, right? So they just do the designing, the buttons එන්නේ කොහොමද, appearance එක කොහොමද, text boxes මොන මොන තැන් වලටද එන්නේ, password box එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනද, drop downs තියෙන්න ඕනද. So those kind of designing will be happen, right? And identification of main hardware system and its components, yeah, that's like we have to identify about the softwares as well as we have to identify about the hardwares, right? So like the project team should have the idea which kind of a system that they are going to make and which kind of devices that they need regarding this. Now if the development is going to happen for a mobile devices, computers are not very much suitable for that, right? So they need mobile devices like mobile phones or tablets, right? And if it is designed for the computers, then again mobile devices will not very much supported. මොකද අපි computers වලට create කරනකොට ඒක computer screen එකට ගැලපෙන විදිහට create කරන්නේ. And nowadays they are doing their design in a hybrid method. So like they have interactive interfaces or like interactive software tools that they are using. So it will change its architecture according to the device, right? දැන් මගේ වෙබ්සයිට් එක මම හදනකොට මම පාවිච්චි කරලා තියෙන ටෙම්ප්ලේට් එක හේවගේ ටෙම්ප්ලේට් එකක්. මගේ මොබයිල් එකේ පෙන්වන විදිහට නෙවෙයි ඩෙස්ක්ටොප් එකේ appearance පෙන්වන්නේ. මොබයිල් එකට පෙන්වන්නේ මොබයිල් එකට ගැලපෙන විදිහට. Right? So those kind of things have to be go through. And again, not only the device, how it's going to be the network, what kind of storage devices should be there, how the backups are taken, right? Do they need a server machine or not, right? And those kind of things are also being taken into consideration, right? And deciding on the required hardware and software to run the system. Same thing means like some of the things we discuss on the upper points. And designing infrastructure for software, database and user interface, right? So මොන වගේ infrastructure එකක්ද ඕන වෙන්නේ කියන එක, right? Software එකක් නම් what could be the operating system that software is going to run. If it is a database, how the connections are being made, right? Those kind of things. And planning of tests. Now testing the system is one phase of this SDLC. So how to carry out the test, or like what are the tests to be done, will be designed in the designing phase, right? So here like if we think about it is about constructing a home, uh, this is the planning session. Plan එක අඳින phase එක තමයි මේ තියෙන්නේ, right? So we gather the requirements, then we plan, right? So the next thing that we are going to do is coding the solution. So you have the plan, right? And you know what to be done. So now the plan can be divided into small parts, which are called units. So those units can be handed over to the programmers and say, okay, this is the task that you have to do. So you build up the things as the design says, right? So the programmers, database designers, right? Those will be busy with the coding and designing stuff, coding and developing stuff, right? So it is the coding base, right? So once the coding has happened, so once it is done, like we design some tests in the designing phase to be carried out this design and debugging phase. So to do the designing and debugging, project team has a special designation called quality assurance, right? Quality assurance. So in quality assurance department, there will be quality assurers, right? So their part, their job is, according to the test that have defined or designed in the designing phase, they carry out those tests on the systems, right? then they test it and see whether there are any errors වලට තමයි අපි bugs කියලා කතා කරන්නේ, right? So whether they can find any bugs, right? So these tests are carried out as it shows here. So the very primary test that they are doing is called the unit testing. So this unit testing is given to the programmers, because programmers are the people who are developing small components of the system individually. Later, those things will be integrated and will form one particular system. So in the unit testing, what the project team does is they give the responsibility, or they give the testing design to the programmers and say, okay, this is the testing that you have to carry out. So just carry it out and see whether you find in any errors, right? So it is done by programmers individually, right? So the බොහොම system එකේ පුංචිම කොටස් වලට කැඩිලා, so those units will be tested individually. So that is called unit testing, right? And the next testing is called the integration testing. So integration means like some units can be gathered up together and create a particular module. Can a module like, so then we can test whether that particular module is working. Now, if you apply this example to a bicycle, bicycle like a system unit testing means they are testing individually the components. The pedals will be checked individually, cogwheels will be checked, tires will be checked, right? Chain will be checked individually, likewise. So then after they can integrate these components, the cogwheels, the pedals, the chain, and the rear tire will be connected with each other and see whether when the pedaling is done, whether the rear tire is going to rotate or not with the help of the chain. So that is called an integration testing, right? So some of the units of the system will be gathered together, right? If they can gather together, right? Gather එකතු කරන්න බැරියව එකතු කරලා බලන්න නැහැ. එහෙම fix කරගන්න පුළුවන් ඒවා තියෙනවා නම් they fix some of the units together and check whether that particular module is working finely or not. So that is what we call integration testing. So later, all the units or all the modules that they create will be taken together and perform the entire system, and it will be tested whether it is working correctly or not. That is what we call system testing. Can අපි අර කලින් කතා කර උදාහරණේ bicycle එකේ total bicycle එකම fix කරලා they test whether we can ride from one place to another place. That is what we call system testing. And there is a final testing called the acceptance testing, which is about to be done by the client. So once you have done the system testing, the project team has done the system testing, they have this confidence of presenting it to the client, because in their testings, they have make the system in a correct manner. So now they know system works finely. So they are presenting it to the client and say, you may test this particular system upon your requirement and see whether your requirement gets fulfilled or not, or whether you are satisfied with or not, right? So once the customer or the client satisfied with the system, then we can say, okay, the acceptance testing has passed. Then we can go for the deployment phase, right? So before we come to the deployment, let's write down the things that we need to write, right? Okay, in the designing solution, yeah, we can't omit anything. We have to write it from top to bottom, right? So please write it down. So once you are done, I'll tell you what to be written for the coding and solution, right? So first, just copy this down. Okay, one is done. How about the others? And for the people who have done in the coordinate solution, coordinate of the solution, the third page, it's better you say like this. Yeah, the very first line and the very last line, these two. So once you are done with the designing part, go for the third one. Right, so one is done. How about the others? Okay, two are done. All right, seems everyone is done. So let's go to the testing part. Right, so in testing and debugging, yeah. So testing and debugging, the fourth one, and the write the first two sentences, right? Then we'll jump to the explanation of these testings, right? So the testing and debugging, the fourth phase. Yeah, and people, meanwhile, I need you to get ready with the past paper book of the O levels, right? I will tell you some of the questions from the past paper, the much older ones, right? To try. right? So you have to try it at home during this period, right? So we can slowly start the revision in part, right? එතකොට මේ දවසකට ප්‍රශ්න 10ක් විතර දුන්නම ඔයගලන්ට ඒ 10 try කරලා තියන්න පුළුවන්, so we can discuss, right, when the time comes, right? So get ready with that, right? So next week වෙනකොට හැමෝම ලෑස්ති පිට ඉන්න, and if you don't have these soft copies, or like if you don't have a book with you, I can send you the soft copies, right? So if you want, just ask me, right? And now in the education department of examination site is also having the past papers, so you can go there and download the original past papers from there as well, right? So anyway, anyhow, just prepare for it, right? So once you are done with these two lines, these three testing methods have to be copied, right? May ටිකම මේ විදිහටම copy කරගන්න. These things have tested before, as well as very potential of testing in the future as well, right? So get to know. This can be asked in the MCQs, asking short answer questions, asking summary notes writing kind of things, right? ඔය තැන් තුනේම අහන්න පුළුවන්, right? Minul, yeah, let's not hope that the exam is going to be postponed again. I don't know actually, but it's a very bad situation in the country. So for the moment, so what they are trying to do is they are trying to start the exam grades as soon as possible, but still we can't see whether like when they are going to start it. What's the date that they can think about? But I hope and pray it's not going to postpone anymore, right? So until we get a concrete answer, it's our duty to get ready for the date that is given, right? Because it is already postponed for a month. I hope they won't extend it furthermore if they could start the classes, like start the schools by next 2 to 3 weeks. But it's doubtful. Yeah, but let's hope for the good. I don't think so, they won't go for something like that for the major examinations, but that will be the very last option as they're considering. But uh, so far, I don't think so. I don't think so. Right. So one is done. As the very last part, you have to write about the acceptance testing. So yeah, all important points are there. So you can't leave anything, right? So please copy it down. Then we can end the session, right? And by next week, we will be able to finish up this lesson, right? So we are done with 2 lessons then, and another 4 lessons to go, right? So
So when are you starting papers?
like you'll get ready with by next week, Minul. I'll give you some of the questions to be done, not the entire paper, right? Like we have to get done with the HTML lesson. That is going to be the 5th lesson. At least we have to go for that. So I'm planning to like now this is May now. So like by July end, June, July, yeah, 2 months. No, 2 months won't be sufficient. Maybe it's gone for like August end. මොකද HTML එකයි multimedia එකයි you have to do the practicals and see what really happens. එකෙන් ගොඩාක්ම consider වෙන්නේ it's the HTML lesson, right? So let's see. So meanwhile we can refresh from some of the questions. So like after August onward we will be able to do entirely the past papers, right? That's the plan. We'll see, right? If you could get it done before that, that will be a benefit for you, right? So if you are done with acceptance testing, it doesn't matter if you leave, right? Thank you very much and have a nice weekend, right? So be very safe, people, right? It's your own safety that will allow the country to open as soon as possible, right? So think about it, take the individual responsibility, and be safe, right? Okay, so thank you very much. So if you are done with this, you can leave. Okay, Sanduni, thank you very much. And have a very nice weekend, people. Right, okay, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Right, okay. Good night. Thank you.